Hello, I wanted to give you an audio and visual version of the explanation I had about the identifying the different subversions of each statute of murder. And so um, I am going to start here just to remind you, how do you get the Arkansas Code? The link I keep giving you is to the Arkansas State Legislature. If you ever lose that, you can Google Arkansas State Legislature and you'll get the code right at the top. And this is new. They used to kind of hide it away, is the Arkansas Code. The first time you click on it during a day, you will have to agree to letting to something, I'm not sure what. Murder is a criminal offense, so we look for Title V. It is an offense against the person, so we click on subtitle 2, and then it is in chapter 10, so we click on that. Notice the way that Arkansas labels the statutes. It is in Title V for criminal offenses. So all the statutes start with 5. It is in Chapter 10, which is homicide. And then the second number in the statute is Chapter 10. And then each one of these has a subsection. I'm going to start by looking at murder in the second degree. And there is a tendency, I think, for everybody to not quite understand the hierarchy of how it's all set up. The murder in the second degree is fairly easy. There's just an A category and a B category. The B category defines the level of criminal offense. The A category defines second degree, and the second degree murder statute only has 2 varieties of second degree murder, and they are linked by an or. So they are alternate versions of second degree murder. The first one is what I call the general variety of second degree murder. It is knowingly causes the death of another person under circumstances manifesting extreme indifference to the value of human life. This is a general category of second degree murder. It establishes what's called the mens rea, or guilty mind in English, of second degree murder. That is the level of intentionality that you need to have in order to be convicted of second degree murder. And that level is knowingly causes the death of another person under circumstances manifesting extreme indifference to the value of human life. So the adverbs are extremely important. We have a knowingly adverb, and then we have an adverbial phrase, under circumstances manifesting extreme indifference to the value of human life. And so that is the level of guilt associated with second degree murder. Now, what happens with item 2? This is a different way of getting that one could be charged with second degree murder. It has to do with one's level of intention to cause physical injury that then causes the death of any person. And notice that the level of guilty mind here is not knowingly under extreme indifference to the value of human life, but rather it is with the purpose of causing serious physical injury to another person. since you've been looking at all these statutes, you should recognize that with the purpose of causing serious physical injury to another person is the level of guilty mind associated with first-degree murder. So the idea and the assault statutes use the same graduated levels of guilty mind, where purpose with the purpose is at a higher level than knowingly under circumstances manifesting extreme indifference to the value of human life. So purpose has a level of intentionality that they actually intend to, in this case, cause physical injury to the person. But by accident, the person causes the death of any person. Notice that basically, if you are trying to cause physical injury to somebody, then you are acting in a way that is knowingly manifesting extreme indifference to the value of human life. It is sort of an alternative that just illustrates this level of mens rea. It is often difficult looking at the statute to see that because there are so many, partly because of reading it online. So what I do is I take the statute and I cut and paste it into a Word or a Google Doc, and then to clarify for myself, I highlight the different sections. So there are, as we said, two parts of the murder statute, lowercase a and lowercase b. And they are just totally two different points about it. Lowercase a is the definition of murder in the second degree, and there are two alternatives, and they are linked by or. And we'll exaggerate them there. And so we know that these are alternatives to murder in the second degree. You may not need to do that with the second degree statute because, in fact, there's not as much on there. But you may need to do that, especially with the capital murder statute, because you see the capital murder statute and it goes on quite a bit. So here is my capital murder statute in a Google Doc with highlights. Now, the same structure is being used, it's just that there's more stuff that they have to say. Lowercase a is the definition of capital murder, and then everything under that a up until lowercase b and this teal highlighting, all of that is the definition of capital murder. And it turns out that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 types of capital murder. Lowercase b has to do with the affirmative offense, and lowercase c has to do with the punishment. So we're going to look at lowercase a, those 10 different types of capital murder. What you need to do with each one of the statutes is to identify the general category of capital murder, or of that type of murder. They do not always put them right at the beginning. In fact, only in the second degree murder statute do they put it in the beginning. In the capital murder statute, they put it at number 4. I've highlighted that with yellow, with the premeditated and deliberated purpose of causing the death of another person. The person causes the death of any person. Note that this is basically causing the death of another person plus an adverb. And in this case, the adverb is the premeditated and deliberated purpose of causing the death. So instead of, like we saw in second degree murder, it's knowingly under circumstances manifesting extreme indifference to the value of human life as the generic kind of category. We have a much higher level of mens rea, or much more heinous or negative level of mens rea, premeditated and deliberated. And of course, capital murder is the highest charge you can have, the worst kind of murder. And the worst kind of murder is the one that is premeditated and deliberated. That is, you in fact planned this and thought about it over some kind of period of time. When you look at the rest of the types of capital murder, you see number 1 is what's called the felony murder statute. There is a felony associated version in other murder statutes, including first degree and manslaughter. But basically what happens is the person is committing some kind of felony, one of the ones that are listed here as which we treat as the worst ones. And then, so we have A, the person commits or attempts to commit one of these felonies. And then B, we have language in the course of and in furtherance of the felony or in immediate flight from the felony, the person or an accomplice causes the death of a person under circumstances manifesting extreme indifference to the value of human life. So what have they done here? That language should sound familiar. It is the exact same language as what was in the second degree murder statute. In other words, what they do is, if your mens rea is at the level of under circumstances manifesting extreme indifference to the value of human life, which normally would be second degree murder, it can be elevated to capital murder when it is also accompanied by a felony. If you look at the 10th type, where there's a purposeful discharge of a firearm that ends up causing the death of another person, you see that under circumstances manifesting extreme indifference to the value of human life is also attached to that. So there is no premeditated and deliberated in the number 10 item, but again, a situation is so bad, so negative, that if the person is seen as causing the death under circumstances manifesting extreme indifference to the value of human life, it is again elevated to the level of capital murder. If you look at item 9, you see the extreme indifference to the value of human life again. And this time, it's because of the victim of the murder. The victim is under 14 or 14 or younger. And so again, it is elevated from what would be second-degree murder to potentially capital murder. Note that all of these things can also be elevated to first-degree murder as well. The number 8, note that the person entered into an agreement in which a person is to cause the death of another person in return for anything of value. There isn't any of the language that we see, whether premeditated and deliberated or knowingly under value manifesting extreme indifference to the value of human life. But because it's a contract hire, again, it is elevated to capital murder. So the point that I want you to get from this is that you need to pay attention to the adverbs in the statutes. You need to find which of the statutes, the subversions of the statute, describes the general variety of that kind of murder. It's number 4 in capital murder, premeditated and deliberated. It was number 1 in the second-degree murder, to act knowingly under circumstances that show extreme indifference to the value of human life. And in each of the statutes, you need to find what that general variety is and be aware of the relative value placed on each of these adverbs. So the worst is premeditated and deliberated, which is capital murder. The next is with the purpose of, which is first-degree murder. The next is knowingly under circumstances manifesting extreme indifference to the value of human life, which is second-degree murder. The next is reckless, which is manslaughter. And then the last is negligence, which is negligent homicide. Find the general variety of each one of those. Make sure you know which one it is. Be aware that they use these adverbials to elevate or sometimes demote the mens rea because of the category of the victim or the type of situation that's going on. So when you see these words, know that they are there for a very purposeful reason, and they are not something that you can interchange easily. All right, hope this helps you with your work as you're going on.